Good morning, Soundhouse Youth. As you have probably guessed, we are doing church a little bit differently this week, probably for the next couple weeks. With everything going on with the coronavirus, with health regulations, we are going to be doing church remotely. For years, we have said that church is not a building, it's not a location, it is not something that we do, and it's not an event. We've said at Soundhouse and in the youth department that church is who we are, and so we're going to prove that. We're going to continue meeting remotely, still being community, still following, learning about Jesus. And so whoever you are, whether you are a student, a parent, a family, random internet person who found this video on accident, just want to say good morning and welcome to church. This morning we're going to focus on fear and anxiety. We're going to be looking at what the Bible says about these, what we might be feeling right now with everything going on in the world, and if we could find any hope in the Word and in God and what we can possibly be doing. We're going to be focusing on a story you might have heard 100 times before. It is in the book of Matthew. We're going to be in Matthew 14:29. And the story is about a normal guy, a fisherman, who gets to walk on water. And usually whenever you hear this story, the focus is always on why this guy gets to walk on water. But what I want to look at is why he starts to sink. What happens and why he starts to go down. We're going to be in Matthew 14, and I will read. Matthew 14:29. Again, the guys are in the boat, and they see Jesus coming. At first, they don't know it's Jesus. They start to get scared because they're normal people. And they see this figure walking towards them. And they know it's Jesus because Jesus says, "It's me, Jesus." And then Peter says to him, "If it's really you, have me come out to you in the water. Help me come out to you." And so Jesus says in verse 29, "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." The truth is, a lot of us might feel like we're sinking right now. The truth is, we're drowning in fear or anxious thoughts, in media, in news. I mean, it's in our back pocket. It follows us everywhere we go. Political garbage, lies. We are drowning in a lot. But I want us to look back at this story. When was it that Peter started to drown? Let's look at verse 30. It says, "But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink." It wasn't the wind that made him sink. It wasn't even his fears. It was the fact that he took his eyes off of Jesus that he began to sink. And I want to ask you, I want to ask all of us this morning, have we taken our eyes off of Jesus? Is that where some of our fears, our anxious thoughts come from? This isn't to undermine all that's going on in the world right now. There is a lot, and it's everywhere. I know that. And it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be worried with whatever you're feeling right now. There's a lot. It's overwhelming. And I want you to know I'm in the same boat. No pun intended. I am in the same boat with you in that. But what about all that we can control? There's a story. It's actually one of my favorite songs in the entire Bible. It's from a guy named David, who we've spent a lot of time last year looking at in a youth group. And this psalm, in 139, David is talking about everything going on wrong in the world. He's focusing on everything, all the corruptness happening, all of this evil, all of this darkness, everything that's happening, all of his enemies. But then, like many of his songs, many of his lyrics, he makes the shift halfway through. Instead of talking about all of the evil and his enemies, the very end, he shifts to the inner me. What's going on inside of his heart. He ends this song after talking about all that's happening, all that's wrong in the world. He says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me, know my anxious thoughts." Does that sound familiar to anyone? See, if there is any offensive way in me, David says, and lead me in the way of everlasting. So his focus goes from focusing on everything happening to what he can control. He can't control the wind. He can't control the corruptness, the darkness, the evilness, the everything happening. But what he can focus on is what's happening within his own heart. I have one more verse I want to share with you guys this morning, and it's one of my favorites. I'd love if you guys can turn there. It is Isaiah 41:10. This is one that I would love for each one of us to memorize. It has come in handy many times in my life. Isaiah 41:10. And God is speaking through his prophet to his people, and he says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." See, God knows that his people are afraid, are scared. There's so many times throughout the Bible where he says, don't be anxious, don't be scared, do not worry, because he knows us better than ourselves. He knows our human hearts. And what is his response here? He doesn't get mad. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't want to punish anyone. No, he reminds his people, I am with you. This week, as we go into some scary situations and we're not really sure what's going on, when we start to feel lost or fearful, I want each one of us to look back at this verse to remember that we're not facing things alone. When you catch yourself starting to picture the worst case scenario of what could be happening, I want you to stop and think back to that scenario and imagine that God is with you. Not behind you, not next to you, but going before you. Because the truth is, he is. When we start to feel like we're drowning, I want us to reflect back on Jesus, to stop, to pray, to turn those things over to God, to reach out to someone too, me, one of your youth leaders, a friend, and know that you are not alone. I know that you guys are not in school for a couple weeks, but you still have homework. This week, I would love each one of us, leaders, students, all of us, to read Psalm 23. We are going to start the group chat. I'm going to send out some questions a couple times this week, checking in. We're going to be discussing this, and I think it's a good one that I would love if we just started each morning looking at Psalm 23. Over the next couple weeks, you're going to hear from me and a couple different youth leaders. We're still doing church. We are still here. And we are so excited for all the things that God is going to do during this time. So wherever you are, whoever you are loved, you are not alone, and we will see you next week. Bye.